you ever felt a sudden, inexplicable wave of absolute relief wash over you when a friend texts you to cancel plans at the last minute? Have you ever felt a sudden, inexplicable wave of absolute relief wash over you when a friend texts you to cancel plans at the last minute? Have you ever felt a sudden, inexplicable wave of absolute relief wash over you when a friend texts you to cancel plans at the last minute? Have you ever felt a sudden, inexplicable wave of absolute relief wash over you when a friend texts you to cancel plans at the last minute? Have you ever felt a sudden, inexplicable wave of absolute relief wash over you when a friend texts you to cancel plans at the last minute? Have you ever felt a sudden?
Have you felt that? Have you ever felt that? Have you ever felt an
inexplicable wave?
Inexplicable wave
of absolute
relief
wash.
Absolute relief wash over you when a
to cancel plans at the last minute. You suddenly have a free evening.
You suddenly have a free evening.
Small talk.
Just
no loud restaurants.
No loud restaurant. No.
Last minute. You suddenly have a free evening.
You suddenly have a free evening. You suddenly have a free evening. Free evening.
No small talk.
No small talk.
No loud restaurants.
No restaurant. No restaurant. No long restaurant.
Just you, your thoughts, and the quiet comfort of your own space.
Quiet, comfortable on your place. Your thoughts and the the quiet comfort of your own space.
If you smiled just thinking about that scenario, society has probably spent your entire life trying to convince you that there is something wrong with you.
Society has probably spent your entire life trying to convince you that there is something wrong with you.
Trying to convince you that there is something wrong with you. We live in a world obsessed with extroversion. To convince you that there is something wrong with you. We live in a world obsessed with extroversion.
We live in a world obsessed with extroversion.
We're told from a very young age that success looks like a crowded room, a bursting contact list, and a calendar packed with social events. World obsessed with extroversion. We're told from a very young age that success looks like a crowded.
The success looks like crowded
room, a
bursting
contact list,
and
a calendar packed with social events. The person sitting alone in the cafeteria is pitied. And a calendar packed with social events. The person sitting alone in the cafeteria is pitied.
The person sitting alone in the cafeteria is pitied.
Colleague who skips the after work drinks is labeled and sitting alone in the cafeteria is pitied.
The
colleague who skips the after work drinks is labeled as weird or aloof.
Is
pitied. The colleague who skips the after work drinks is labeled as weird or aloof. Is pitied. The colleague who skips the after work drinks is labeled as weird or aloof.
labeled weird aloof,
But what if society has it completely backwards?
But what if society completely backward? But what if
What if it's
society
labeled
has
as
it?
weird or aloof? But what if society
But what if society
has it completely
has it completely backward?
What if the desire to be alone isn't a symptom of antisocial behavior, but rather a sign of complex neurological wiring and deep psychological maturity? Today, we are going to dive deep into the psychology of people who genuinely prefer solitude.
Psychology of people who genuinely prefer solitude.
We are going to strip away the stigma and look at
We are going to screen stigma
the actual neuroscience and evolutionary biology behind
and
why some brains crave isolation and genuinely prefer solitude. We are going to strip away the stigma.
We are going to strip away the stigma. We are going to strip away the stigma
And look at the actual neuroscience and evolutionary biology behind why some brains crave isolation. By the end of this, you will understand exactly why your need for alone time is not a flaw to be fixed, but a highly evolved cognitive advantage. To understand the psychology of the solitude seeker, we first have to draw a hard, impenetrable line between two concepts that are constantly confused: loneliness and solitude. The theologian Paul Tillich once perfectly captured this distinction when he impenetrable line between two concepts that are constantly confused: loneliness and solitude. The theologian Paul Tillich once perfectly captured this distinction when and solitude. The theologian Paul Tillich once perfectly captured this distinction when he said, language has created the word loneliness to express the pain of being alone, and the word solitude to express the glory of being alone.
To express the glory of being alone.
Loneliness is a state of psychological starvation.
Loneliness is a state of psychological starvation. Loneliness is a state of psychological starvation.
It is the distress that happens when there is a mismatch between the social connections you want. It is the distress that happens when there is the mismatch between the social connections you want.
Social connections you want.
And the social connections you actually have. You can be profoundly lonely in a crowded room.
You can be profoundly lonely in a crowded room.
And you can be entirely fulfilled on an empty mountaintop.
In the mountaintop. They're fulfilled on an empty mountaintop.
Lonely in a crowded room, and you can be entirely fulfilled on an empty mountaintop.
The mountaintop.
Loneliness is something that happens to you.
Loneliness is something that happens to you. Loneliness is something to happen to you. Loneliness is something that happens to you.
Solitude, on the other hand, is something.
Solitude, on the other hand,
that you choose.
It's something you choose.
Is a deliberate separation from the social web to engage with your own internal world. Psychologists refer to this healthy desire for isolation as positive solitude. Psychologists refer to this healthy
Psychologists refer to this
desire for isolation as positive solitude.
This health desire for isolation is passive solitude. Passive solitude.
People who score high in positive solitude don't dislike others.
Dislike the other. People in positive solitude don't dislike other. Don't dislike others.
They simply find a deep intrinsic reward in their own company. They use
intrinsic reward in their own company.
use alone time for emotional regulation, self-reflection, reward in their own company. They use alone time
They use a long time
for emotional regulation.
proportional regulation. They use a long time for emotional regulation. Emotional regulation. They use a long time. For emotional regulation.
Self-reflection and in their own company.
Regulation.
They use alone time for emotional regulation.
Promotional.
Self-reflection and decompression.
Decompression. Some self-reflection and decompression. Self-reflection.
They use alone time for emotional regulation. Self-reflection
Self-reflection.
and decompression.
And decompression.
But why does this preference exist in the first place? Why- Self-reflection and decompression. But why does this preference exist in the first place? Self-reflection and decompression. But why does this preference exist in the first place?
But why does this preference exist in the first place? But why does this preference exist in the first place?
Why does self-reflection and decompression? But why does this preference exist in the first place?
Preferences in the first place.
Why do some people need this quiet time like oxygen? But why does this preference exist in the first place? Why do some people need this quiet time like oxygen? While others treat it like a punishment. Why do some people need this quiet time like oxygen?
Why do some people need this quiet time like oxygen? Why do some people need this quiet time like oxygen?
While others treat it like a punishment.
Why others treat it like a punishment?
The answer lies in the fundamental architecture of your brain, specifically within your dopamine reward system and a
Dopamine system.
architecture of your brain, specifically within your
Specifically
dopamine reward system and
reward system.
the network called the reticular activating system. Let's talk about dopamine first.
Dopamine first.
Dopamine is often called the feel-good neurotransmitter.
Feel-good neurotransmitter.
It's more accurately the motivation and reward neurotransmitter.
Reward neurotransmitter.
It compels us to seek out food, sex, and social interaction. Here is where the split happens. People who are highly extroverted actually have a less sensitive dopamine system. To feel that rush of reward and excitement, they need loud noises, new faces, risks, and constant social stimulation. A quiet room to an extrovert feels neurologically understimulating and boring. A quiet room to an extrovert feels
Quiet room extroversion. Quiet room to an extrovert feels neurologically
understimulating and boring.
Understimulating and boring.
A quiet room noises, new faces. To feel that rush, people who are highly extroverted actually have a less.
Extroverted.
Here is where the split happens. People who are highly extroverted actually have a
extroverted,
less sensitive dopamine system.
Actually have a less sensitive dopamine system.
To feel that rush of reward and excitement, they need loud noises.
Reward and excitement, They need loud noises,
new faces,
new faces,
risks, and constant social
risk and constant social
stimulation.
stimulation, social stimulation.
A quiet room to an extrovert feels neurologically
Right, a quiet room to an extrovert feels neurologically
understimulating and boring.
understanding and boring.
But if you are someone who prefers solitude,
but if you are someone who prefers solitude,
your brain is fundamentally different.
Your brain is fundamentally different. Your brain is fundamentally different.
Your dopamine system is highly sensitive.
Your dopamine system is highly sensitive. Your dopamine system is highly sensitive.
You don't need a loud
You
party
need
to
a
feel
loud party
stimulated.
to feel stimulated. You don't need a party. You don't need a loud party. You don't need a loud party to feel stimulated.
In
In fact,
a loud party completely overloads your system. Stimulated.
In fact,
a loud party completely overloads your system.
Overloads your system. In fact, a loud party completely overloads your system.
It pushes you past the threshold of pleasure. Completely overloads your system. It pushes you past the threshold of pleasure.
It pushes you past the threshold of pleasure
and straight into exhaustion.
Exhausting.
Instead of relying on dopamine.
Instead of relying on dopamine.
People who prefer solitude often run on a different neurotransmitter called acetylcholine.
Acetylcholine often run on a different neurotransmitter called acetylcholine.
Acetylcholine is linked to the parasympathetic nervous system.
Nervous system. Acetylcholine is linked to parasympathetic nervous system.
The rest and digest network.
The rest and digestive network.
It is the chemical of deep thought, focused work, and internal reflection.
An internal reflection.
When you are sitting alone, reading a book, or quietly working on a hobby, your brain is bathing in acetylcholine.
Your brain is bathing in acetylcholine. Your brain bathing in acetylcholine.
Making you feel profoundly relaxed.
Making you feel profoundly relaxed
and
rewarded. Making you feel profoundly relaxed and rewarded.
You aren't being antisocial.
You are being antisocial. You aren't being antisocial.
You feel profoundly relaxed and rewarded.
You aren't being
antisocial.
You aren't being antisocial. You aren't being antisocial.
You are simply seeking the neurochemical environment that allows your brain to function at its absolute best.
Environment that allows your brain to function at its absolute best.
There is an even deeper evolutionary reason why some people prefer to be alone.
Prefer to be alone.
But there is an even deeper evolutionary reason why some people
even deeper evolutionary reason why some people
prefer to be alone.
prefer to be alone,
And it explains why
And it
highly
explains why
intelligent
highly
people often
intelligent
have
people-
smaller social
Why highly intermittent picture?
people prefer to be alone. And it explains why
And it explains why
highly intelligent
Highly
people
intelligent
often have
people-
smaller social
often people often have small social
circles
circles.
alone. And it explains why
And it explains why.
even deeper evolutionary reason why some people prefer to be alone. And it explains why highly intelligent people often have smaller
Often have smaller
circles.
social score.
2016.
In 2016,
Evolutionary psychologists
psychologist
Satoshi Kanazawa and Norman
Sato Kanazawa and
Lee published a groundbreaking study regarding what they called the Savannah theory of happiness.
Reward what they called the Savannah theory of happiness.
Analyzed data from over 15,000 adults to see how
15,000 adults only there from 15,000 adults to see
population
how
density and
population
social
density
interactions
and social
affected their
interaction
overall
affect
life
their overall
satisfaction.
Satisfaction.
Now, population density and
See how population
Social
density and
interactions
social
affected
interaction
overall
affected
life
their overall life satisfaction.
the researchers found something that completely contradicted
The research
traditional psychology.
traditional
For
psychology.
the vast majority of people, frequent social interaction with friends contractions affected their overall life satisfaction. The researchers found something that
The research expands. The researchers found something that
completely contradicted traditional
completely contradicted traditional
psychology.
psychology.
For the vast majority of people,
For the vast majority of people,
frequent social interaction with friends led to
social interaction with friends feel.
higher self-psychology. For the vast majority of people,
For the vast majority of people,
frequent social interaction with friends led to
frequent social interaction with friends with a
higher self-reported happiness.
higher self-reported happiness, higher self-reported happiness, higher self-reported
For the
happiness,
vast majority of people, frequent social interaction with
frequent
friends led to higher self-reported happiness. But for people with highly developed intelligence, these
but the people have highly intelligent. But for people with highly developed intelligence,
exact opposite was true.
the exact opposite was true.
Highly intelligent individuals actually reported lower life satisfaction. Highly intelligent individuals
Highly intelligent individual
actually reported lower
actually rewarded lower
life satisfaction.
life satisfaction. Lower life satisfaction.
Highly intelligent individuals actually reported lower life satisfaction.
Actually reported lower life satisfaction.
The more frequently they socialize with their
The more frequently they socialize
friends.
with friends. The more frequently they socialize with their friends. Why? I don't know. I wondered why.
Why would smarter people want to be alone more often?
More often. Why are smarter people want to be alone more often?
They socialize with their friends. Why would smarter people want to be alone more often?
Why do smarter people want to be alone more often?
The Savannah theory suggests that our brains evolved in small hunter
The Savannah theory frames
alone more
the
often.
Savannah theory.
The Savannah theory
The Savannah theory
suggests that our brains evolved in small hunter-gatherer bands of about 150 people on the African savanna.
150 people.
Hunter-gatherer bands of about 150 suggests that our brains evolved in small hunter-gatherer bands of about. The Savannah theory suggests that our brains evolved in small hunter-gatherer bands of about 150 people on the African savanna. Back then, hunter-gatherer bands of about. The Savannah theory suggests that our brains evolved in small hunter-gatherer bands.
Small hunter-gatherer band.
150 people on the African savanna. Back then, constant social interaction was crucial for survival.
Constant social interaction was crucial for survival.
If you were alone,
if you're alone,
you died.
You died. If you're alone, you die.
However, highly intelligent individuals are
better equipped
to
solve
complex
modern
problems
complex problems without relying
on the
on the collective group. Without relying on the collective group.
Alone, you died. However, social interaction was crucial for survival. If you were alone, you died. However, highly intelligent individuals are better equipped to solve modern, complex problems without relying on the
collective group.
Their brains don't trigger the same primitive panic without relying on the collective group. Their brains don't trigger the same primitive panic alarm when they are isolated. Their brains don't trigger the same primitive panic alarm when they are isolated. Their brains don't trigger the same.
Their brains don't trigger the
primitive panic alarm.
Primitive panic alarm. Their brain don't trigger the same primitive panic alarm
when they are isolated. Because they possess the cognitive resources to adapt and thrive independently. Because they possess the cognitive resources to adapt and thrive independently. For these individuals, excessive social interaction is actually a distraction. It pulls them away from long-term goals. Deep analytical thinking.
Analytical thinking.
And complex problem solving. If you constantly find yourself pulling away. If you constantly find yourself thinking and complex problem solving. If you constantly find yourself pulling away from the crowd to pursue your own projects and interests. You're being weird.
You are being weird.
Away from the crowd to pursue complex problem solving. If you constantly find yourself pulling away from the crowd to pursue your own projects and interests. You are being weird. Your brain is optimizing its environment for high-level cognitive work.
Environment for high-level cognitive work.
This brings us to one of the most powerful benefits of solitude.
This brings us to one of the most powerful benefits of solitude.
Cognitive work. This brings us to one of the most powerful benefits.
This brings us to one of the most powerful benefits of solitude.
The activation of the default mode.
Activation of default mode.
Or the DMN. Whenever you are actively engaged
in the task,
talking to someone, scrolling through your phone, or navigating traffic, your brain's executive control network is active. It is focused outward, processing the external world. But the moment you remove external stimuli, processing the external world.
Processing the external world.
But the moment you remove external stimuli,
But the moment you external stimuli, but the moment you remove external stimuli, but the moment you remove external
outward, processing the external world. But the moment you remove external stimuli, the moment you step into true solitude,
the moment you step in true solitude,
your brain switches over to the default mode network.
Your brain switches over the default mode network.
The DMN,
is
the neurological home.
The DMN is neurological home
of your sense of self.
Of your sense of self. Of your sense of self.
It is responsible for autobiographical memory, future.
Responsible for autobiographical memory,
planning,
empathy,
and moral reasoning. It's the part of the brain that
connects your past
experiences to your future goals.
To your future goals.
Creating a coherent narrative of who you are. Here is the frightening truth about the modern world. Coherent narrative of who you are. Here is the frightening truth about the modern world.
Here is frightening truth about where you are. Here's frightening truth about the modern world.
Coherent narrative of who you are. Here is the frightening truth about the modern world.
Frightening truth of the modern world.
Most people almost never allow their default mode network to fully activate.
Most people default mode network to fully activate.
The moment they are alone.
The moment they are alone.
Pull out their phones. Default mode network to fully activate. The moment they are alone. They pull out their phones.
They pull up the phone. They pull out their phone.
Turn on default mode network to fully activate. The moment they are alone. They pull out their phones.
They pull out the phones.
Turn on the television.
Turn the television.
Or put in headphones.
Put in headphones.
They constantly feed their brain external Turn on the television or put in headphones. They constantly feed their brain external input to avoid the discomfort of sitting with their own thoughts. Constantly feed their brain external
input
to
to avoid the discomfort of sitting with their own thoughts.
They pull out their phones, turn on the television, or put in headphones. They constantly feed their brain external.
They constantly feed their brain external
input to avoid the discomfort of sitting with their own thoughts.
Thoughts. To avoid discomfort of sitting with their own thoughts.
People who actively prefer solitude.
People who actively prefer solitude have
a distinct advantage here. Because they are comfortable in the quiet.
Because they are comfortable in the quiet.
They spend more time in their
default
mode network.
In their default mode network.
This allows for what psychologists call constructive internal reflection.
Constructive internal reflection. This allows for what psychologists call constructive internal reflection.
They process their emotions more effectively.
They process
constructive internal reflection. They process their
They process
emotions more effectively.
emotions more effectively. They process their emotions more effectively.
They understand their
They
own
understand
values
their
and
own
beliefs without the heavy influence of
Heavy
the crowd.
influence.
This is why people
This
who
is why
spend a
people
lot of
who
time
spend a lot
alone
of time alone. This is why This is why people who have a lot of time. This is why people who spend a lot of time alone
often have a very
often have a
strong,
very
unshakable
strong,
sense of
unshakable
identity.
identity. So, unshakable sense of identity.
A lot of time alone often have a very strong, unshakable sense of identity.
Unshakable sense of identity.
They know exactly
They know
who they
exactly
are.
who they are. They exactly know who they are. They know exactly who they are.
Because they have actually spent time conversing with themselves.
They actually spend time conversing with themselves. Furthermore,
solitude is the absolute prerequisite for deep creativity.
Solitude is the absolute prerequisite for the creativity. Furthermore, solitude is absolute prerequisite for the creativity.
Furthermore, solitude is the absolute prerequisite for deep creativity.
For the creativity.
Almost every major artistic, scientific, and philosophical breakthrough in human history was forged in isolation.
Forged in isolation. Philosophical breakthrough in human history was forged in isolation.
From Isaac Newton developing calculus while
developing
isolated during the Great Plague. From Isaac Newton developing calculus while isolated during the Great Plague. From Isaac Newton developing calculus while isolated during the Great Plague. Isolation. From Isaac Newton developing calculus while isolated during the Great Plague.
During the Great Plague.
To writers, painters, and musicians.
To writers, painters, and musicians
who retreat to cabins in the woods. Solitude removes the pressure of social conformity. When you are alone, you are not performing for anyone. You are not subconsciously altering your behavior to seek the approval of the group. This total freedom from judgment allows the brain to make bizarre, unconventional connections that form the basis of true innovation. But, as with all things in psychology, we have to look at the shadows.
We have to look at the shadows.
We have to discuss the boundary line where the preference for solitude stops being a superpower and starts becoming a pathology.
Pathology. Start being a pathology.
Psychologists warn that we must differentiate between solitude by preference and solitude by fear. If you are choosing to be alone because you love your own company, because you have hobbies you want to pursue, and because you have hobbies you want to pursue, you feel energized by the quiet,
and because you feel energized by the quiet,
it's healthy.
This is healthy.
But if you are isolating yourself because you are terrified of rejection,
you're isolating yourself because you are terrified of rejections.
If you feel intense social anxiety,
if you feel intense social anxiety,
or if you believe that you are unworthy of connection,
and believe that you are unworthy of the connection,
that is not positive solitude.
That is not positive solitude. That is not positive solitude.
That is avoidance.
That is avoidance. That is avoidance. That is avoidance.
Maladaptive isolation often stems from depression, trauma,
Maladaptive opposite of depression
or avoidant
or
personality traits.
personality trait.
Isolation often stems from solitude. That is avoidance.
That is avoidance. Avoidance.
Maladaptive isolation
Maladaptive isolation
often stems from depression, trauma, or avoidant personality traits. It is a defense mechanism designed to protect the ego from the perceived threat of other people. It is a defense often stems from solitude. That is avoidance. Maladaptive isolation often stems from depression, trauma, or avoidant personality traits. It is a defense mechanism designed to protect the ego from the perceived threat of other people. Not positive solitude. That is avoidance.
That is avoidance.
Maladaptive
Isolation often stems from deflection. Maladaptive isolation often stems from deflection. Stems from deflection,
trauma, or avoidant
depression, trauma, or avoidant personal traits.
It is a defense
mechanism
designed.
It is defense mechanism designed
to protect the ego from the perceived threat of other.
Protect the ego from the perceived threat
people
of their people, of other people.
You can tell the difference by looking at the emotional aftermath.
You can tell the
threat of other people. You can tell the difference by looking at the.
You can tell the different.
The emotional aftermath.
Aftermath.
Threat of other people.
Threat about people.
You can tell the difference by looking.
You can tell the difference by looking at the emotional aftermath.
Healthy solitude leaves you feeling recharged, grounded, and eventually ready to re-engage with the world on your own terms.
Eventually ready to re-engage with the world on your own terms.
Maladaptive isolation leaves you feeling hollow,
leaves you feeling hollow. Maladaptive isolation leaves you feeling hollow.
And increasingly paranoid about the outside world.
And increasing paranoid about the outside world.
It is the difference between building a fortress to protect your peace. World. It is the difference between building a fortress to protect your peace.
Protect your peace. Between building a fortress to protect your peace.
And building a prison. From your fears. As long as your alone time is chosen, joyful and constructive, it is one of the most powerful tools you have at your disposal.
One of the most powerful tools you have at your disposal.
We need to stop pathologizing the need for space.
We need to stop pathologizing the need for space.
We need to recognize that in a world that never stops screaming for our attention, space. We need to recognize that in a world that never stops screaming for our attention.
Never stops screaming for our attention.
The ability to sit quietly in a room by yourself is not a weakness. It is a profound strength. It takes courage to step away from the noise of the crowd and listen to the quiet voice of your own intuition. So, the next time you decline an invitation, or the next time your own intuition.
Your own intuition.
So, the next time you decline an invitation.
So the next time you decline an invitation.
Or the next time you feel that rush of joy when plans are cancelled.
When you feel that rush of joy when plans are cancelled.
Do not feel guilty.
Do not feel guilty.
You are not missing out on life.
Missing out on life. You are not missing out on life. You are simply choosing to experience life internally rather than externally. You are giving your nervous system the peace it requires. You are allowing your default mode network to weave the story of
your identity, and you are stepping into the quiet arena where your best, most authentic self is actually built. Protect your peace, cherish your solitude,
Protect your faith.
and never let a noisy world convince you that your quiet mind is a flaw. Have you ever felt a sudden, inexplicable nervous system, the peace it requires? You are allowing your default mode network to weave the story of
You're allowing your default mode network to weave
your identity.
the story of your identity.
We're stepping into the
You're
quiet
stepping
arena where your
into the
best,
quiet arena where your
most
best,
authentic
but
self is actually
authentic self is actually.
the quiet arena where your best,
The quiet arena where
most
your
authentic self
most
is actually.
authentic self is actually. Okay. And then I read a book, and the story left too little. Today is short. The 14th chapter, Red Sails and Blue Wings. Red Sails and Blue Wings. Red Sail. Sailing homeward, the doctor's ship had to pass the coast of Barbary. This coast is the seashore of the Great Desert. It is a wide, lonely place, all sand and stone, and it was here that the Barbary pirates lived. These pirates, a bad lot of men, used to wait for sailors to be shipwrecked on their shores, and often, if they saw a boat passing, they would come out in their fast sailing ships and chase it. When they catch a boat like this at sea, they would steal everything on it, and after they have taken the people off, they would sink the ship and sail back to Barbara singing songs and feeling proud of mischief they had done. Then they used to make the people they had caught right home to their friends for money, and if the friends sent no money, the pirates often threw the people into sea. Now, one sunshine day, the doctor and Deb were walking up and down the ship for exercise. A nice fresh wind was blowing the boat along, and everyone was happy. Presently, Deb saw the sail of another ship a long way behind them on the edge of the sea. It was a red sail. I don't like the look of the sail, said Dab. I have a feeling it is a friendly ship. I am afraid there is more trouble coming to us. Chip, who was lying near taking a nap in the sun, began to glow and talk in his sleep. I smell roast beef cooking, he mumbled. Another roast beef with brown grain over it. Good gracious, cried the doctor. Doctor. What's the matter with the dog? Is he smelling in his sleep as well as talking? I suppose he is the doctor. All dogs can smell in their sleep. But what is he smelling? Asked the doctor. There's no roast beef cooking on our ship. No, said Abda. The roast beef must be on that other ship over there. But that's a miles away, said the doctor. He couldn't smell that far, surely. Oh yes, he could, said Abda. You ask me. Then Jeff, still fast asleep, began to growl again, and his sleep called up angrily, showing his clean white teeth. I smell Batman. He growled. 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 Again, and the worst man I ever smelled. I smell trouble. I smell a fight. Six pairs scoundrels fighting against one brave man. I want to hurt him. Oof, oof. Then he barked loud and wake himself up with a surprised look on his face. See, cried Dab, the boat is nearer now. You can't count it. It's really safe and all that. Whoever it is, they're coming after us. I wonder who they are. They are best sailors. Their ship, and their ship is very swift. They are surely the parts of Barbie, where we must put up more sailing on our boat, said the doctor, so we can go faster and get away from them. Run downstairs, Jeep, and fetch me all the sails you see. The dog hurried downstairs and dried up every sail he could find. But even when all were propped on the mast to catch the wind, the boat did not go nearly as fast as the fire, which kept coming on behind closer and closer. This poor ship the prince gave us. This is a poor ship the prince gave us. Gulf the pig. The thought that he could find, I still think might as well try to win a race in the southern edge hope to get away from them in this old barge. Look how near they are now. You can see the mustache on the faces of the men. 6 of them. What are we going to do? Then the doctor asked Dab to fly up and tell the swallow the pirates were coming after them in a swift ship, and what should he do about it? When the swallows heard this, they all came down on the doctor's ship and they told him to unravel some pieces of long rope and make them into a lot of thin string as quickly as he could. Then the end of the string was tied on the front of the ship, and the swallows took hold of the string with their feet and flew off, pulling the boat along. And although swallows are not very strong, and although swallows are not very strong when only one or two are by themselves, it is different when there are a real lot of them together, and they are tied to the doctor's ship were 1,000 strings, and 2,000 swords were tied, and they're tied to doctor's ship were 1,000 strings, and 2,000 swords were pulling on each string, or terribly swift fire. And in a moment, the doctor found himself traveling so fast he had to hold his head on with both hands, for he felt as though the ship itself were flying through waves that fronted and bowled with speed, and all the animals on the ship began to laugh and dance about its rushing air, for when they looked back at the pirate ship, they could see that it was growing smaller now. Instead of bigger. Ah, they could see that. They could see that. They could see that it was growing smaller now instead of bigger. The red sails were being left far behind.